Here on 4 Now, Sign On receives your views.
Hello and welcome to the last sign-on programme for 1992. As you'll see, we have a studio audience today made up of some of the many people who have appeared in our programmes over the year. We'll be seeing how they are and asking about a new subject of interest to them.
Hi, we'll also have a background report on the British Sign Language Dictionary, which was launched earlier this month, as featured in our Newswatch programme.
We'll be asking our audience how they feel about the use of BSL, British Sign Language, on television, and whether regional variations should affect the signs we use. And to celebrate Christmas, Deaf Owl have made a film about a Christmas tree. And later, we'll be asking our audience for their opinions on our next subject. After 10 years of hard work, the Deaf Studies Research Unit at Durham University have launched their publication, the British Sign Language English Dictionary. This is it, a 700-page volume. We've been finding out how it all came together.
And I think originally...
Roy did last week. Okay. Thanks. The project started in the 1970s. It was started by the British Deaf Association and its then General Secretary, Alan Hayhurst. The BDA wanted to produce a dictionary for hearing parents and teachers of deaf children to assist them to communicate with the children. Towards the end of the project, Hayhurst became aware of the research that had been carried out by sign linguists, which clearly demonstrated that sign languages were distinct languages. He was concerned that the way in which he had presented these signs in the dictionary may be misunderstood and that they would be used and signed on the basis of English rather than BSL. So he decided he would revise and reorganize the contents. Unfortunately, he died before he could undertake that task. I had been invited to do some research for him on the introduction he intended to write for the dictionary. After his death, the BDA invited me to coordinate the reorganization of the contents in the way that he had wished. We obtained a grant from British Petroleum, which enabled us to bring together a group of deaf people who checked through the signs to ensure that they were BSL signs. We also realized that it would be important to provide a guide to the meanings of the signs. But clearly, no one person could carry out all the work that is involved in this. And therefore, through the support of the BDA and the projects that we were undertaking at Durham at the time, such as the certificate course for tutors of sign language, we were enabled to bring together a team who could do the work involved.
What's that?
There. Did you see that? You can do it this way, this way, this way.
What's the facial expression?
Like this.
Okay.
What we're doing here is looking through a video of data that we've collected from around the country of different deaf people signing their own multi-channel signs to be included in the dictionary. Obviously, it's important to show facial expressions, etc. I've been working with Liz Scott Gibson in translating the signs into English and finding English glosses, it's been very, very difficult. But what we're doing now is checking this through, ready for the photographic session. Some of the signs are not my own, so I have to rehearse them. Obviously, the more I rehearse, the easier it is to get a good photo. What happens on the face?
Like this,
The tongue
like
and a
this,
wrinkled nose.
together. Okay?
Okay.
For this particular sign, as you have seen, we've used two photographs. One shows the start of the sign, and the second shows the end of the sign. There will be artwork added to indicate the movement of the right hand, and a symbol to indicate that the left hand remains still. This will appear on the left-hand side page with a notation, and on the right-hand side there will be a written English description of how to produce the sign, including a description of non-manual features, and in the case of this sign, the English phrases that have the same meaning as the sign. We've organized it in this way so that it can be seen that BSL and English are separate languages, so that on the left-hand page there is just BSL and the notations.
Are you saying Fosdick is regional?
I'm based on my experiences.
You
I've
probably-
only had
you-
Gateshead
yeah, you
district
obviously
have
haven't-
actually...
You obviously haven't done the
photo-
washing enough, you see, to know that that is a reasonable example to use.
Right, okay.
What I try to do in the introduction is to give some hint of the incredible productivity and creativity of BSL vocabulary. Because I think there are really two kinds of BSL vocabulary. There's the kind that already exists. It's sort of off the shelf. You can pick it down and use it as you want. But there's another kind, what I call the do-it-yourself vocabulary, DIY, where the deaf person is able to take elements of the language and combine them in new and creative ways. And this is what is often very difficult for the hearing learner of BSL. For example, if we take something like a closed fist, that closed fist can in fact represent a whole group of objects like round or solid objects. So it can represent a head of a person. And if we combine it with the lower arm, then it can indicate the head and body of a person. So then you can get examples like fall with a thud. The same combination can indicate the legs and hooves of a horse. So you can get signs like trotting or galloping. And once the hearing person realizes that those elements are used in that way and that can be put together in different combinations, then the hearing person can really get clued in to the visual world of BSL and begin to learn the language much more easily.
I would now like to ask Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales to accept a presentation of a dictionary.
I hope you're going to enjoy reading this dictionary.
I am very happy to be here at the launch, and I hope that it will help you, both deaf and hearing people, to greater interaction. Thank you.
Well, I feel so proud today. It's great. All my life I've used sign language, and at last it is now recorded in a book for future generations. That record is vital because in the past, books that portrayed sign language were different. This truly represents BSL as a language and all its features. It's really wonderful. I'm in the book, I'm much younger, and now you can have a good laugh at all my photos. You'll be amazed. Some without glasses, square ones, round ones, and now even with a moustache. But the changes prove the many years of hard work that's gone into the dictionary. It's been well worth it though, and now it's there for posterity. Great. Now with more campaigning, let's hope BSL, British Sign Language, can become an officially recognised language of this country. But what about the use of BSL and all its variety? We've had many debates about the appropriate signs to use on the sign-on programme.
For example, would it be appropriate to use signs from the north, the west, the east, the south? Should the presenters use their own signs? Take people, 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 people. Which of these varieties should presenters use on television? Here's Carolyn to check it out. As you know, there's a great deal of variety in BSL, but what is appropriate for television programmes like this? That was food for thought. People, 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 people. How do you feel about what's suitable for TV? I don't think it's confusing. It's the same as hearing people speaking on television news programmes. They've different... in the past, it was standardised. They were trained that way. Now they have more variety, so you can tell where they're from. To have regional variety in sign language is very important. If we were all the same, it would be very boring. Also, copying other people's signs would be difficult. People and presenters from different regions shouldn't feel they have to change their signing to suit the region. They should stick to their own. Martha. When I watch television, I don't understand what they say when they use English signs. That's because we're from Scotland. I'd like to see more Scottish signs on television.
I feel that deaf teachers, when teaching hearing people sign language, still need to be aware that they must teach regional differences. Lots of hearing people are confused because they are taught one way and they go to another area and it's different. It's confusing. They must teach that the sign mother in one area will be a different sign in another. It's really interesting to see the various comments. But at the same time, the dictionary is very valuable in narrowing down the sign base. Because I come from Scotland, and some of our signs have a completely different meaning down in England. Often there are misunderstandings over information, and there's confusion in the language.
Francis. Going back to what Martha said about wanting more signs from Scotland, well, the BBC programme, See Here, has had Scottish presenters for a long time, and so Scottish signs have been broadcast. Now British people have been picking up too many Scottish signs. We really need to keep a balance, and people need to be aware of their own regional variation. Going back to the sign for people, as teachers, we need to use our own particular signs. Using this sign to teach to a class because it's easier for the pupils to understand, I disagree with that. We've talked about the different signs for people. I think it's really up to the individual, whatever they feel comfortable signing. If they feel happier signing one way, it's up to them to decide, whatever comes naturally.
I used to live in the north and use northern signs. 3 years ago I moved down south to London. The signs there were different. The fact that I'm partially hearing means I knew the accents were different as well. I just had to face up to the differences between north and south. They're different, and that's that. It's important that different signs used by deaf people from ethnic minorities, like these, should be recognised. Respect the tradition, not their own equivalent from BSL. We need variety. It's important for white and ethnic minority interpreters to take note of this and broaden their focus and take account of the many different cultures, such as Asian. That's really important.
I think it's important when you talk about regional signs. Okay, they come from different regions, but also the signs reflect different cultures. So if we standardise signs, we lose those cultures, these regional cultures. I think keeping these cultures is important to the deaf community. That's my view. When a presenter from the south actually appeared on Sign On, I thought they would be using their own regional signs. But most of them seem to have changed this sign for news. It looks artificial, like they're using a second language. They should stick to their own southern sign, like the sign for people. I feel strongly that people shouldn't be forced into standardising. It should be their own natural sign. Julie Story. Who is the dictionary? Well, actually I haven't seen the dictionary myself, but I'd like to know who the dictionary is really for. I wonder. Julie's asking who the dictionary's for. It's for everyone, both hearing and deaf. Hearing people can look up the meaning of signs using the English descriptions and the English section at the back. Deaf people can also get information about signs from the photos and the English section, so it benefits both hearing and deaf people.
People are going to go out and buy this book and sit down with it and, for example, look up the sign for people. They'll be faced with a row of pictures with all the different signs for people. How will they know which to choose? It's going to be difficult. If we look back, in the past, people lived in small communities and there wasn't television. These communities developed their own specific cultures and varieties. With the advent of television, everybody came to see it as one language. That's when arguments started. I wonder what of the future?
Well, as you can see, there are some varied opinions. It seems we should respect our differences. Now we have a Christmas treat in store for you, with The Tale of a Christmas Tree by John Wilson and Paula Garfield, made by Deaf Owl.
We hope you enjoyed that as much as our audience did. Now, we haven't forgotten our fellow presenters at Newswatch. Here's Tessa and Paul.
Over the last few months, we've covered the British general election, the Los Angeles riots, in South America, the Rio Environmental Summit,
The government's problems in Europe, the uncertainty about the future of Britain's pits, and what's happening with the royal family. Let's hope next year's Newswatch will be as varied and interesting.
and if you want to see more of those stories, join us on Saturday, January the 2nd for an hour-long Newswatch. We'll be looking back at 1992 and forward to 1993, and including news of deaf people in the former Yugoslavia. And what about Deaf World, the sign language programs from other countries? Here's Rachel Bastikar to tell us how well it's been received. Over the year, we've had programs from Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland and America. The audience seems to love them and they've been very well received. The cultures are different, the sign languages are different, but a lot of the experiences are the same. There really is a deaf world of which we're all part. Well, sadly, that brings us to the end of Sign On for this year. We'll be back at the end of March 1993. Don't forget the Newswatch Review of the Year on January the 2nd at 12, OK? But that's not quite the end of the programme. Here's a little something we hope you'll enjoy. Bye-bye and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.